on the other side of the wall. Part 2. He looked completely different. Despite his middle age, he had grey hair and walked with a rather stooped posture. I found him very thin, his features were angular, and his skin, wrinkled and deathly pale, was utterly lifeless. His unusually large eyes glittered mysteriously. He invited me to sit down and, offering me a cigar, declared with obvious and solemn sincerity that he was glad to see me. Afterwards, we engaged in a casual conversation, during which I was overcome by a profound sadness at the profound change that had taken place in him. He must have sensed my feelings, because he immediately said in Latin with a broad smile, "I've disappointed you, I'm not the same as I used to be." Although I didn't know what to say, I finally remarked, "No, not at all. Well, I don't know, your Latin is still the same as ever." He smiled again. "No," he said, "since it's a dead language, this peculiarity is only increasing. But please be patient and wait, there's a better language where I'm going. Would you mind receiving a message in that language?" As he spoke, his smile faded, and when he finished, he looked into my eyes with a seriousness that filled me with anguish. However, I wasn't about to be swayed by him or let him understand how deeply his prediction of death had touched me. "I suppose it will be a long time before human language ceases to be useful to us," I remarked, "and by then its necessity and usefulness will have vanished." My friend said nothing, and since the conversation had taken a depressing turn and I didn't know what to say to diffuse the tension, I remained silent as well. Suddenly, just as the storm died down and the deathly silence contrasted ominously with the earlier roar, I heard a soft knocking sound from the wall behind me. The sound seemed to be made by a hand, not like a knock on a door signaling entry, but rather like a prearranged signal, a confirmation of someone's presence in the next room. I think most of us have encountered such interactions more often than we'd like to admit. I looked at Dampier. If there was anything amusing in my expression, he must not have noticed. He seemed to have forgotten about me and was staring at the wall with an expression I can't quite describe, though I remember it as if I could see it now. The situation was unsettling. I stood up, intending to leave, then he reacted. "Please sit back down," he said. "It's all right, there's no one here." The knock came again with the same slow, gentle insistence as the first time. "Sorry," I said, "it's late. Would you like me to come back tomorrow?" He smiled again, this time a little mechanically. "That's very kind of you, but completely unnecessary. I assure you, this is the only room in the tower, and it's empty. At least?" He fell silent, stood up, and opened the window, the only opening in the wall from which the noise was coming. "Look!" Not knowing what else to do, I followed him to the window and peered out. The light from the nearby street lamp, shining through the dark curtain of water that was pouring again, made it clear that there's no one there. And indeed, there was only the completely bare tower wall. Dampier closed the window, pointed to my place, and returned to his. The incident itself wasn't particularly mysterious. There were many possible explanations, none of which had yet occurred to me. However, I was deeply impressed by my friend's attempts to reassure me, as it lent the event a certain importance and significance. He had proven that no one was there, but that was precisely what was interesting. And he hadn't even explained anything yet. His silence was irritating and offensive. "My dear friend," I said, "I'm afraid with a hint of irony. I have no intention of disputing your right to drink as much alcohol as you desire, in accordance with your notions of camaraderie. That's none of my business. But since I'm just a simple businessman, essentially earthly, I don't need alcoholic beverages to feel comfortable and at ease. Therefore, I'm returning to my hotel, where the guests are still flesh and blood." I know it wasn't a very polite remark, but my friend didn't react to it. "Please don't go," he remarked. "I appreciate your presence very much. I confess I've heard several times what you just heard this evening. Now I know it wasn't my own illusions, and it truly matters to me, more important than you can imagine. Light a good cigar and be patient while I tell you the whole story." The rain had picked up again, producing a monotonous roar, occasionally interrupted by the sudden crackle of wind-lashed branches. It was already quite late, but compassion and curiosity compelled me to follow Dampier's monologue attentively, never interrupting him once he began.